that when you go back to Parliament, you go and introduce the Farmers Bank. We are tired of these commercial banks. Let the farmers' banks, such as cooperative and the rest, come back to help us, the farmers, to get that interest. Because you are talking of ACF at 12%. And 12%, if you go to the market, you can't get any profit at 12%. And I'm imploring upon you, the governor, deputy governor, that please revise that interest rate on the loan of the ACF and other loans, at least to 5%, and you restrict commercial banks, if they are to give us this loan, we are going to take the loans. Restrict them to charge at least only 3% so that we have up to 8%. And that is the affordable. If you go to the market and search, you'll find that a loan of 8% is the one a farmer can afford. This one of 12% plus the bank's 10%. We can't, and that's why we are not borrowing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this opportunity given to me. I'm by the name J.J. Odon. I'm a councillor for Lira District, representing Other Passions May. Thank you very much, Michael, for the awareness you and your team has created. I have lived in this world, this is my 73rd year. I've never sat before Bank of Uganda as it is happening today. Now, my question is, or rather, I always see that this world is a world full of contradictions. And these contradictions are being handled in different ways. Now I go straight to what I want to bring forward, because at the moment I'm a politician. I want to pose this is rather a political question. Our parliament has had the new law passed against homosexuality. This law did not remain quiet after it was made. Now the question is the bank, Uganda Bank, is not affected in one way or the other with this new law? Because you had made mention of things like COVID and its effect on mankind. You have talked about the fighting going on with Russia and Ukraine. It had its effect. My question is, I'm glad that my honorable MPs are here. Many people saw that these people are not digestive in their work. People have very little time to discuss issues. They just want to pass and let it go. It is up to those who are going to. Uganda Bank has it been free.
Honorable, may you summarize?
Okay. It's been free. That we are going to be safe financially, or it has its effect upon the people of Uganda. Thank you very much. That's my question.
Thank you. Let the DG respond to those issues, but before I want to recognize the presence of the chairman, Lira District Local Government, Adwong RCM. In the House, we also have the Speaker, Lira District Local Government, and the Speaker of Lira City Council. Thank you.
One more announcement, DG. In the booklet before you, there are forms that we request that you fill. It gives us feedback because this is a continuous engagement. In the next one, we learn from what you've said and we improve on it. Kindly please spare some minutes and fill the form. The Bank of Uganda team will pick it. When we give you the microphone to ask a question, please kindly, we beg of you, be precise and concise and mention your name. Lastly, please write some questions in the papers that you have. One or choko. We shall collect it and we shall read it for the Deputy Governor to respond to them. Deputy Governor, sir, because of gender balance, there's a lady who has requested and we couldn't say no to her questions. Kindly allow her ask the questions, then your team will respond to them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Sarah Awora-Ngweri. I represent workers, Lira City Council, female. And my male counterpart is there, is the speaker of the great city. I just want to speak this out as a concern because I listened very well to the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda. I can't miss this opportunity, at least to say a word to the Deputy Governor, because this is an opportunity that comes once in a lifetime. Because I think this is the first of its kind that we're having this kind of meeting with the Bank of Uganda people. But I think you should make it a point to always come down and take our concerns, because the wananchis are really dying down there with they're boiling, but they have nowhere to put their points. For me, I'm just looking at one aspect of life, that is the environmental part of it. I don't want to talk about money because before you talk about money, you should know how to get the money. So one of the greatest aspects of life that we have in Uganda is agriculture. I want to know from the Deputy Governor what he's doing about agriculture, because one, probably they brought the PDM, which to me, I think it was a top-down approach. For us, we would prefer a bottom-up approach to whatever has been brought to us, because you don't know what our problems are like, and you can't solve problems when you don't have any idea about what you are trying to solve. So one, I want to put a question to you, and then I ask a concern. Probably I would ask what you're going to do about the issues of financial literacy, because that is the greatest problem in Ugandans. When you give them money, if they're not going to add another woman, probably they would, I don't know, they would spend it the way they want. So Bank of Uganda should take note that our people don't know how to use money. That is one. Then two, there are issues of education. You spoke about it, that education and things like food crops should not, you know. I just beg Bank of Uganda that try to regulate on how people are handling the issues of education. Because us down here, we are dying. Education has been commercialized. It is no longer a service that we used to know, and it's no longer a right. So once you have money, you can afford a better education. So that discussion has to go. And then lastly, I would also advise that before you can think of lending your money, because you talked of safe lending, probably you may not lend safely because you don't know the person you're lending to. So environment needs to be worked on. And then this one, I'm looking at the smart agriculture. How do we handle it? Because agriculture is the backbone of our country. So we can't afford to lose it. So we cannot wait for our environment to erode that we think of using irrigation, which is very expensive for us. Some of us cannot afford irrigation. Because even, you know, there are a lot of bureaucracies, because before you can reach irrigation, then you're dying of hunger. So let's try to elevate our environment before it erodes, because we are now living in an environment that is not supporting us agriculturally. Probably for me, I'm a daughter to a peasant farmer. So I survived because of farming. So I don't want our land to erode before we can elevate it. Thank you.
Deputy Governor and your team, those are the questions that we request that the team takes on for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those very good questions and comments that you've raised. Now, I've come here with a team from Bank of Uganda And in Bank of Uganda, we believe in teamwork. So I'm going to distribute some of the questions to my colleagues so that they're not redundant. I will say something about the technical center, but I will ask Director Currency to elaborate. And then there is the issue of the increasing costs that are related to mobile money. I have the Director of the National Payment Systems here. He's going to answer that one. And the government of Uganda efforts on inflation, I think I will tackle that one. And then the currency of South Sudan versus Uganda, if I got it correctly, but I'll ask the gentleman to ask again because the question wasn't very clear. And then there was a question about SCF and commercial banks. Winfred, I'm going to ask you to respond to that question. And then Huntington, I'm told you're not doing your job. So you have to prove to the person who raised the question that you're doing your job. And then the question on the Farmers Bank, I will also leave it to you. Now I will tackle the question on environment, but also ask Director of Communication maybe to first take a first shot at it, and then I will come later on. Now, the gentleman who asked about the Anti-Homosexuality Act, I'll just say something about it. So that is it. So let me quickly begin. The gentleman who asked the question about South Sudan, what was your question? I did not really quite well get it. Uh-huh. What do you mean you can't compare the two currencies? More valuable than ours. Okay. Okay, in terms of dollars. Good question. And the second question was what? Oh, then Director Currency, you'll answer the 50 shillings. Okay. Now, the government of Uganda doing about inflation. Like I said in my presentation, we have been able to lower inflation from the high of 10.7% in October last year to now 2.7%. And we have done it through squeezing money, right? But we cannot, as a central bank, continue doing that. There's a limit to which you can do that. So government is aware that they now need to trigger the supply side of the economy to raise output. How do you trigger the supply side of the economy? We've had discussions with the government on this, and government has correctly said, look, we're trying to use the PDM, we're trying to use the Myoga and what have you, so that when you benefit from the PDM, you yourself using that money to increase production. Like the lady here said, that when you are given money for particular activities, are you going to marry a second wife, or you are really going to use the money for the activity intended? So I think government is working on the supply side through a number of initiatives. They are also supporting small, medium enterprises through the Uganda Development Bank, the Microfinance Support Center, and what have you. So they are working to trigger the supply side of the economy so that we don't rely on demand management through monetary policy by squeezing money. We are of the view that we have now lowered inflation to where it should actually be. So now the supply side should take over to sustain inflation where we have reached. Now the currency. I know I don't know, what is the exchange rate of the South Sudanese pound to a dollar? Does anybody know? I must confess I don't know the exchange rate of South Sudan to the dollar. Okay, But I think what you need to ask yourself that how is that exchange rate changing over a year? All right? I gave you an example of the Uganda shilling. The Uganda shilling appreciated by 2.4% over the last 1 year. So it means that the same value of Uganda currency that you needed to use for buying $1, right? You will now require fewer Uganda shillings to buy the same dollar. The question I'm asking for you is, how many Sudanese pounds did you need to buy a dollar last year compared to how many Sudanese pounds you need to buy a dollar this year? I want to believe, unless I'm wrong, that you require more South Sudanese pounds to buy a dollar now, whereas in Uganda you require fewer Uganda shillings to buy the same dollar. So that simple analysis shows that the Uganda currency is gaining on the dollar compared to the South Sudan pound that is losing on the dollar, if my understanding is correct. I won't believe that the South Sudan pound has depreciated against the dollar, because I read an article recently that the Southern Sudanese traders were complaining that for every Sudanese pound now they're getting fewer Uganda shillings, meaning that the Uganda shilling has strengthened against the South Sudanese pound. So to answer your question directly, that means that the Uganda shilling is much more stable and stronger compared to the South Sudanese pound. And on the AHA, look, this was a law that was passed by Parliament, the people's representatives. Bank of Uganda does not represent anybody, right? At least as far as the lawmaking is concerned. We only implement the laws that have been passed by Parliament, right, and ascended to by the President. The Parliament passed that law, ascended by the President. We therefore have to respect the wishes of the people of Uganda. Now, what is the effect of that on our operations? Yes, you had the World Bank statement recently that they were suspending aid. They were suspending new loans to Uganda until certain issues have been made clear. And as a result of that, our currency kind of like depreciated. It was about 3,680 shillings per dollar at the time of the announcement. It depreciated to about 3,760 after the announcement. So in terms of the impact, that announcement that's related to the Anti-Homosexuality Act, the announcement by the World Bank that they were not going to give us any aid, kind of like affected the currency. But through our policy tools, we are trying to stabilize the currency. So that's how it affects Bank of Uganda, but we cannot say anything about that AHA law because it is a law that has been passed by the representatives of the people. So I will leave my colleagues to tackle those other questions, starting with, on the Lira Technical Center, I am not aware of any plans to close the technical center. I'm not aware of a single plan. Yeah.
How long are you going to be out there? And when you are being out there, we are not sure. Actually, you are not visible. Yeah. Someone was even asking when they had.
Okay.
Yes. He's back of Uganda.
All right.
Some people even don't know that you're visible.
Okay, I think I now.
I yet we have land with the mayor. I have land. Yeah, the chairman also has land.
Okay. Okay, I think now you have made it much more clear. Let me just give you the history of how Bank of Uganda establishes branches. I think Bank of Uganda works together with the banking fraternity, all right, the commercial banks, to assess the volume of activity that takes place in a particular center. And like you correctly mentioned, business activity in Lira has picked up, all right? So there is evidence that they're picking up. So I think what we need to now do is to have a discussion with the banking community to assess the extent to which that business, right, has picked up and the capacity of this branch here, or I mean that technical center, to handle that business. If it requires a big, right, we will first of all see where can we get the interim space, all right, to accommodate that. Because constructing a branch, if you look at the history of the branches that we have in Uganda, it first begins by having a branch, and then as the activity picks up significantly, then we construct a branch of our own. But again, like I said, we will need to have a discussion because this is a collaborative effort that we work together with the banking community and assess the extent to which we now require that going forward. And we'll certainly take it up from here. Not very satisfied. Yeah, but that is...
Look at the volume of business in all these other activities. We did most of those things where we have already created branches. Lira is much better than most of those things.
Yes, but like I
So
said...
that means we actually qualify more than those other things.
Yeah, but like we said, we are certainly going to look at that. We are going to discuss it with the commercial banks, all right, and see the merits of it. But I agree with you that activity in Lira has picked up. Like if your statistics are correct, that you are the third biggest revenue collector, that is a signal that it has picked up. But it's a discussion that we are going to have with the banks and then with the board of the Bank of Uganda as well. So that will be informed by that discussion. Yeah. So, Director Currency, can you take on the rest of the questions? Or if you want to add something to that, please.
Thank you very much, DG. It's hard to add anything to what you just said about the technical center. Just to give you comfort from the numbers from the cash business, maybe just to add to what the DG said, our footprint as Bank of Uganda is fundamentally to serve cash, where volumes demand that commercial banks require our support, our presence, because of the cash volumes. And really, in terms of what has happened in Lira, we've seen that pick up. So as he's saying, the assessment is dependent on what do we see about these volumes. The Deputy Governor was talking about, he was challenging us to work harder on improving the 4% in the ACF. I don't know what share of 4% the sub-region has, but I can imagine if you doubled whatever share of the sub-region's contribution to 4%, tripled it, then we would definitely be having a conversation about the appropriateness of that location for the service to Lira. And I think we just have to acknowledge and thank the leadership and the chamber for the willingness to offer premise. But as the Deputy Governor said, together with the banks, we want to refine the case. Maybe one slight addition is that the model, the ability to respond quickly to volume needs is why the sector is working together. So originally, you had Bank of Uganda located at UCB branches, even in the what we call the traditional branches, those that were set up from 1966 to 92. Because of growth in business, then the Bank of Uganda took its own approach because it merited, growth merited the bank to remove itself from the premise of UCB then and have bank location because volumes and business had justified it. As time went on, that same model informs our ability to scale affordably and seamlessly in other parts of the country that may be required. And Lira has the distinction of being the first branch in the recent years, in that is 2018, where the banking sector is working together in establishing the infrastructure. We can ask ourselves, is it big enough? Is it small enough? Is it painted enough? Is it visible enough? But so far, it has been able to allow the banking sector efficiently serve the growth in this region. And we will continue to have that assessment going forward. On the 50 shillings, maybe what this speaks to is the denomination structure. Just very quickly, part of what a central bank is supposed to offer all of us in cash transactions is the conveniences of denomination breakdown that reflects the level of transaction. So if you're buying goods and services in the region of 2,000 or less, you should have coins. If you're buying at higher levels of higher values of transactions, then you should have the notes and the larger ones. So it is our duty to provide this economy with currency from 1 shilling to 50,000, so that what people need at a point in time is what they get. Now, along the way, obviously some of the denominations, the lower ones, are less practical transactionally because the pricing has shifted largely beyond them. So you will generally not see 1, 2, 5, 10, and increasingly 50 in circulation, but where it's needed, we supply it, because we do not want to create a structural absence of denominations to facilitate transactions. So 50 shillings is legal tender. Use it when you need it. It's available. And where you need others, they are also availed. I appreciate that, we hear the public saying they are small, they get lost and all those things, but they do serve a purpose, and albeit reduced, we still get demand for it from some of the commercial banks. So I just thought we should understand the purpose of the denomination structure and why we still have those denominations. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. As protocol observed. I will respond to the question of high charges for mobile money. My name is Makai Yaumu. I'm the director in charge of National Payment Systems. So we're aware that the mobile money charges remain high, but I'm going to take you through about 3 issues. The first one is within your control. The first one is indeed within your control. The Deputy Governor has levered to say, let's keep the money within the mobile ecosystem. If you sold a goat and you're going to pay school fees or pay for water or pay for electricity, why do you want to get that money out? Because when you get it out, then you face first the withdrawal fees. Second, the 0.5% tax. We can avoid that by making sure that we stay within the mobile money network and we sensitize people that let's use mobile money so that we discourage this issue of going to withdraw it and then you meet the charges. The second issue is about infrastructure to provide these services. It remains high, mainly because we have 2 big companies, the regional companies that provided us with mobile money, MTN and Airtel. And now you have to enter into what they call bilateral agreements between, say, 2 parties. And when they sign those agreements, they agree on charges, which they transfer to us, the users, the consumers. So what the central bank is doing is to put in a centralized system. I will explain it more. We're trying to implement what they call a national switch, so that all the users, all the participants involved in the mobile money space, all the transactions are centrally passed through that national switch, which the central bank is in the process of. Actually, we're now at a stage of doing evaluations. We are hopeful that maybe as we end the year, we shall have a centralized infrastructure, and we want to initially offer it as a public good, meaning that the central bank and government are going to put in money to put that infrastructure. And our main aim of doing that is to bring down the costs of mobile money, the cost of using mobile money. So that's about the infrastructure. The third point I want to talk about is there's a question that Madam raised about financial literacy. We developed what we call financial literacy strategy for the country, but there's also a national financial inclusion strategy. The bank over time has been able to develop a syllabus of financial literacy where we empower Ugandans to make the best use of their personal finances. And this covers issues like loans, telling you about loans, all the details that you need to know about a loan, how to save money, how to invest, how to plan for old age, what to know of services that are offered by banks and other payment service providers. And this syllabus, we have trained people who are able to come out and ably impart knowledge on financial literacy across the whole country. And I will not challenging, I'm very available to the lady that raised this question to send my team to this Lira city and spend with you 1 or 2 days and give us a group of people whom we can talk to. And we build a team of trainers who can then spread and train other people. So the other, we also to know that to the extent that the National Curriculum Development Center has accepted to take on this syllabus that Bank of Uganda developed, and it's going to be put in the secondary school curriculum so that the children begin to learn about money at an early age. I also want to make you know that the development partners, World Food Program, have also taken hold of this syllabus, and they're able to, when they're meeting people who are excluded, like displaced people, they use this to teach them about financial literacy. The other issue I want to talk about is the issue of unfair competition. You can't rule this out because we have big players and small players. We have licensed like 25 institutions, the small ones, they call them fintechs, and also 2 banks. But competition cannot be fair. So what we can do is to put a law to regulate these issues of unfair competition. So we have drafted a regulation which is going to be discussed with the stakeholders, so that if you find these people who are doing unfair practices, we shall be able to close on them administratively, impose penalties and fines to bring them to order. So that's the issue of unfair competition. Over and above that, the central bank has gone into many collaborations with the development partners, which I already mentioned, but also academic institutions. We have gone into, signed an agreement with the Makerere University Business School to do research on the cost of mobile money services so that we get closer to understand what are the drivers of these costs so that we can develop an appropriate policy to intervene where we can. And on top of that, we have also tasked the big 2, MTN, Airtel, as well as the other institutions that have licensed, that they need to come out with evidence-based analysis of the cost, like of these taxes, so that we have a deeper paper which we can take to the Minister of Finance and talk with government and say, so these are the problems. When we have these costs coming from these other perspectives of tax, if we can, we will make a case and maybe fight for to see that, because we can benefit better when the costs are lower, because when the costs are lower, then you have more people using these services. So even if you want to have, you'll get a larger tax base when you have more people who are using mobile money. But if these restrictions come in, then you are going to only work with a limited number of people, and even the revenue that you are going to collect might not be big. So I think those are, Deputy Governor, that's how I can respond. But I also want to make you know that as the bank, as the Deputy Governor explained, we are looking at how do we contribute to socio-economic transformation. And we have taken the agenda of financial inclusion as a big agenda in the central bank, and we've also taken the agenda of digital financial services so that we reap the benefits of going digital. and we are very committed to handle this. We have a team of people who are very available to discuss, and we'll continue to meet you and try to make highlights on some of these challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, DG, for making sure I'm not idle by assigning me the question on the environment. I think at Bank of Uganda, we are looking at tackling environmental issues from two angles. One angle is within the bank itself, what we do as Bank of Uganda, but also we recognize that as Bank of Uganda alone, we cannot do a sufficient job on tackling this big problem. So we are also working with the financial sector institutions that we regulate. So I'm going to just highlight a few things at the two levels. So at Bank of Uganda, one of the things that we are taking very seriously is to have a paperless office. So we want to cut out the use of paper to a bare minimum. Why? Because as we all know, paper comes from trees. So we want to contribute towards the reduction of our carbon footprint by having a paperless office and having most of the documentation, contracts, memos, and all those things done digitally. We are also actively pursuing tree planting through our CSR activities. We like using acronyms a lot, so let me open that up. Through our corporate social responsibility activities. You heard in the deputy speech when he mentioned that we are going to work with the leadership of the city to improve rehabilitate or refurbish the hospital. One of the other things he mentioned was that we'd plant trees. So we've been planting trees in all of the districts that we have had our corporate social responsibilities. We are also looking into more efficient energy and water use. And of course, our digital strategy in the payment system also addresses some of the environment-related things. So less paper, having a smaller footprint. For instance, if you have to transport cash from Kampala to Gulu to the currency centers, you have to spend fuel, which adds carbon to the environment. But what if some of that cash is not used and we are using mobile money? Then you reduce part of that footprint. So we are looking at all those issues. Now at the commercial bank level, the DG talked about our introduction of ESG principles for the commercial banks. So we want commercial banks to do certain things as they improve their loan book to improve the well-being of the communities they serve. Some of these things we are looking at, we want commercial banks to demonstrate to us through their loan books, how much they are providing as loans for climate mitigation and adaptation. So things like how much of your loan book is going towards recycling plastics, because as we know, plastics destroy the environment. How much is going towards things like water harvesting? Are you funding people who need money for water harvesting, for irrigation, for planting trees, for protecting and restoring wetlands? Are there agricultural insurance products that support agriculture? How are you funding infrastructure that that reduces the impact of climate change, like drainage, water drainage? So these are some of the things we are looking at. We are also looking at, on the adaptation side, we know that climate is changing. So we also want banks to demonstrate how they are funding things like research into better seeds, the provision of funds for buying these seeds, which for instance take a shorter time to grow. Things like fast growing animals, good farming practices, things like use of more efficient energy instead of firewood and charcoal, like the DG highlighted. So we will task banks every reporting period to tell us How much have you lent to these activities, and how are they impacting and adaptation to climate risk and ultimately the environment? Thank you.
Good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, and again, praise the Lord. DG, thank you so much for the opportunity to bring me to the podium. We had a very good conversation yesterday, and I didn't think I would come up again, but by God's grace, I'm here. There is a question that came up about interest rates from Mr. Otile. Mr. Otile, actually, after yesterday's conversation, I thought I should talk to you privately because you have an audit firm, and one of the issues that came up yesterday was that people don't know how to keep records. And I thought you should take that as an opportunity to make yourself very relevant and help people learn how to prepare records and help the bankers to further the agenda as you further yours as well, and people in the accountancy profession. But back to the point why I'm here. When you go to a financial institution, and again, let me clarify, when we refer to financial institutions, we talk about commercial banks, we talk about credit institutions, we talk about microfinance deposit-taking institutions. So don't think our focus is only on commercial banks. We look at the other tiers as well because they offer the same services but on a different scale. When you go to open up an account, always ask for what they call the key facts document. It will give you the different types of accounts you can open up. If your interest is in opening up a savings account, look for a savings account that will give you the rate of interest that is favorable to you. But if you just walk in and throw money at the table and say, open an account for me, the bankers will give you an account which doesn't give you interest because it serves them better. Please tell them I want an account that will pay me the highest rate of interest. And you'll have a conversation. If you don't negotiate, they will not help you to negotiate. Trust me about that. But probably my colleague has talked about financial literacy, and I think it is through that angle that probably the public will be made more aware of what needs to be done to make their lives better. About interest being paid at the end of the year, Governor, with your permission, I'll request the bankers to respond to that question because a year can run from any time. If I opened up an account today, the 20th day of October, my year ends in October next year. Isn't it? Then you should be able to give me my interest if the arrangement is you're giving it to me annually. You should be able to give me my interest in October next year, not only at the end of the year. But the bankers, with your guidance, Deputy Governor, they will try to create a little bit more awareness on that. Then on the issue of opening up a commercial bank, specifically for farmers, we had the cooperative bank. And indeed, it responded to the needs of most of the farmers and beyond. And indeed, there's been a lot of talk of the cooperative bank coming back, which is very good news. If they bring the documents to Bank of Uganda applying for this bank, we shall review the merits of this case and act accordingly. But remember, if you're asking for this bank, it will be your responsibility to make sure that it operates on a sustainable basis. If your desire is to come and borrow because it's your bank and don't pay back, that bank will again disappear, unfortunately. So if you're interested in this bank and you want to take ownership of this bank, let the application come, and make sure you support this institution through thick and thin and make sure it is sustainable. Take ownership as an individual. take ownership as a family, take ownership as a region, take ownership as a country. That's the only way we shall get out of this song of poverty. Otherwise, if we become individualistic and you only want to get something out of an institution and not pay back, it's not going to help us as a people and as a nation. Thank you. There's another question that came up from Honorable Ongu Ahmed about small money lending institutions. In the discussion we had yesterday, my emphasis again was you should deal with institutions that are regulated by Bank of Uganda, because in case of a disagreement, you have a fallback position. But at the same time, my colleague Martin explained what was happening. He was also talking about the issue of money lenders charging very high rates of interest. And there's one that has started with the Ministry of Finance to see what can happen on bringing these institutions to order, so that they charge rates that are reasonable. But for me, as a regulator from the central bank, I will appeal to you, use the institutions that are regulated by Bank of Uganda, because we have rules, we have regulations, we have guidelines that ensure that they publish the rates they charge to you. And when we go to inspect, we try to establish whether they're actually charging what they say they charge to you. Why would you want to use a money lender who does not reveal to you how much they are going to charge at the beginning of the relationship, and you only get to know about it later when they are confiscating your security? Use institutions that are transparent. Use institutions that are regulated by the central bank. That's the only way you can throw this question out of the window immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. Yesterday, I explained how the Agriculture Credit Facility operates. And I said that while this is a government initiative, it is a risk-shared facility. What that means is that government contributes 50% of the money, and financial institutions also contribute 50%, only until about 5 or so years ago that we introduced the ratio for the MDIs, the micro deposit taking institutions, and credit institutions to 30% and 70% for government, because there were challenges of uptake when it came to the smallholder farmers. Now, when it comes to lending, the way the ACF works, and same as the Small Business Recovery Fund, is that the banks are responsible for assessing the eligibility of the borrowers and the viability of those borrowers before they lend to them. And so after that, they will lend and then claim for the government portion from Bank of Uganda. So then the onus falls on the banks to make sure that they undertake proper due diligence before they lend to the borrowers. And that has been able to help us minimize the non-performing loan ratio for ACF to less than 2%, as you heard yesterday. Now, ACF also is a credit line that while government to date has been able to inject 275 billion as capital to capitalize the ACF, we have been able to lend up to 818 billion. And the way we've been able to do that is by the banks helping us, one, to contribute their portion, because out of the 818 billion, government contribution accounts for 414. It means that the other half, about 404 billion, comes from the financial institution. And because of that, and because of the due diligence that they undertake, then we are able to collect the money we lend back And so we can lend to more people and create more credit and being able to grow that credit to 818 billion. We have seen banks, when the scheme started, because of the nature of the facility being a risk-shared facility, not very many banks were willing to bear that risk because of the issues associated with the sector. However, now as we speak, when the scheme started about 14 years ago, 2010, 2011, there were only about 3 banks that were willing to lend. But now as we speak, there are about 17 banks lending their own money, contributing their own money, and supporting government to for farmers to access cheaper credit under the agricultural credit facility. So I want to actually use the opportunity to commend the banks that are actually doing this. However, we are also mindful of the challenge. I know that it's true that some of the borrowers have had a challenge accessing. And this is a continuous conversation that we are having with the banks. We continuously engage them on opening up lending to the farmers, but also, like the Director of National Payment System has said, the bank on undertaking financial literacy, so that while we are telling farmers about access to SCF and SBRF, we're also teaching them on preparing them on the need to keep records, they need to have bank accounts, they need to make savings, so that you make it easy for the banks to assess you and be able to determine whether or not you have the capacity to borrow and pay back these loans. The Deputy Governor also mentioned about the need to increase our value addition here, so that we can increase that 4%. And that is a conversation that we will have with the banks, that while we have seen lending for production go up, we now need to also balance and give financing towards value addition, so that we can see the region also increase in terms of the value of the loans that are extended in the region. Thank you very much.
Are we done with that? Deputy Governor, sir, we are going to go to the next round of questions. But before we pass on the microphone, allow me to read 5 questions from the ones they have submitted here. Kindly please write your name on the questions as you submit them. In case omit no time following up. Yeah, there's a question from Achola Pauline Achola. I would like to know how effective and efficient Islamic banking is, especially when it comes to loan, aware that the Sharia law does not allow Muslims to pay interest. How is Bank of Uganda helping on this? Another question here is from Tony Angiru. Tony is asking, some people are buying coins like 50 shillings, 200 shillings, and 5 of the early years. They pay higher than the face value of these coins. My question is, are these monies taken back to Bank of Uganda, or are they taking them outside? Why are these coins being bought? That is from Tony. Another question from Omara Samuel. Samuel Omara is asking, I borrowed money from a microfinance. I mortgaged land as security. Unfortunately, I failed to pay. They asked to sell my land, which I agreed that they should sell. But they are still taking me to court. Why are they taking me to court and yet they have my land? What can Bank of Uganda say about this? Another question from Jolene Akelo, Lira District Local Government. She is asking, Mr. Governor, thank you for helping the people of Ayago Health Center. My request is, how about us in Lira district? Can you also help us? We are doing badly in terms of health and education and roads. That is from Jolene Akelo. Another question, Mr. Governor, is from, the next is from Ogwal Oye Frederick, Chairperson, Lira City Service Commission. Appreciation to Bank of Uganda in helping Ayago Health Center. Is it possible for Bank of Uganda to support Lira City in the following areas? Number 1, financial literacy. Number 2, financial management and investment options. Number 3, scholarship in the banking sector. That is from Ogwal Oye Frederick. Another question, Deputy Governor, sir. I suspect this is from Deputy Mayor. My concern is about the merchant code. Could there be a regulatory measure towards the merchant codes? There are 2 fraudulent companies in the names of BLQ and E-Cairo that fraudulently extorted so much money from the public and disappeared in the blink of an eye. That is the question. The last written one that I'm going to read is the supervisory role of Bank of Uganda. In the supervisory role of Bank of Uganda, how is Bank of Uganda rescuing citizens from the hands of money laundering, who are grabbing people's property because of rates attached to their borrowing? I think this is money lenders charging high interest rates. Just not clear. Yeah. So those are the ones that were written. We will take about 3 or 4 verbal, then the Deputy Governor requests to first respond to this. Then we go to another verbal session. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. Again, thanks a lot for these very important questions. I think it shows the level of engagement that you are having. We really, really appreciate it. But to get the maximum value, I'm again going to ask my soldiers in the trenches to respond to this. Achola Pauline, very good question. Islamic banking, you've really hit it. I think there's a lot of education that needs to go to the public on Islamic banking. Unfortunately, while I have the facts, I'm not a very good teacher, but I know that the director of commercial banking will tackle that question. And also, I think he talked about money lending again. So I think I'll leave that to the director of commercial banking. Then, Tony, I'm not aware about the purchase of coins, but director currency, you might have got wind of this, so you might be in a better position to respond to that. Omara Samuel, I would be very much interested in finding out which commercial bank this is. Because if you accept you fail to pay the loan, they have taken your security, it will be, I don't know why they're taking it to court again. Maybe let's have a discussion on this and you let me know which commercial bank this is, because I think from what I have heard, I think we need to look into this deeper. Akelo Jolie, these requests, yeah, you were talking about more requests for Lira districts. You know, I will summarize it. In fact, all the requests that have come up. Apart from, of course, the one asked by Ogwalo Yet, there's, like the Director National Payment Systems Department has said, we can arrange for a financial literacy training, right, to touch on things that you are concerned about, including management, financial management options, and what have you. So I think we can tackle that under the aspect that Director Payment System Department alluded to. So, Makai, you will have to work with the district leadership to get that. Now, I will also ask you to address the question from the Deputy Mayor about the merchant codes. Some two merchants, BLQ and EKRO, who have extorted money from the public. Are you aware of that? Yeah, so you might need to pick interest in that because I'm here for it for the first time. But let me say something briefly about the requests. You know, Bank of Uganda does not operate in a bottomless pit in as far as money is concerned. We also have a limit. We have a budget. So it's not the case that we don't have a budget. And if we operated without a budget, you would soon see on TV and radio me appearing before the preliminary committee of having been reckless with government money. So you don't want me to appear before Parliament because I gave Lira district some money that didn't come from a budget. But we can work within the Bank of Uganda budget to see how we can address all these concerns. But you have to help us do that. And how do you help us do that? We are spending a lot of money printing currency. I think we are spending nearly $40 to $50 million per year. Is it direct? Yes, about $38 to $40 million. So if you converted that, you are talking of anywhere between 140 to 150 billion shillings. That's printing currency. If we used e-money, don't you think that bill would come down and would have savings? If we stop cashing out, it means that our expenses on printing currency will come down. So let's just assume that we're beginning in the next 2 years, we increased e-money and our cost of currency printing comes down by 25%. So 25% of 150 is close to 40 billion. I think we'll then have a very meaningful conversation about this request you are putting forward. Don't you think so? So help us to help you because we're operating in a budget. So can I challenge the leadership of Lira and Lango sub-region to request your people to reduce cashing out and maintain the money in the ecosystem so that we reduce on the cost of printing. And then we can have a meaningful conversation on the roads, the scholarships, you name it. We can then have a conversation. So that's my challenge to the leadership. But let me call on Huntington again. And then I would like some commercial bankers who are here. I don't know how many commercial banks are here. Do we have any? Yes. You are from which, if you don't mind? From Stanbic. Thank you. And what's your name? Okay, thank you so much. And Echiro Felix. Yes, I will ask Ms. Ogwala and Echiro Felix to come and respond to issues that have been raised by the public here regarding the commercial banks, to do with the SCF, to do with the outreach, and any other issue that have been raised by the public here, so that you talk to them as well. They hear from you yourself, because we cannot talk effectively on your behalf. They need to hear from you. Yeah. So very briefly, you address these questions, and then the two bankers will come.
Thank you once again, Deputy Governor. Let me try to respond to the question of Islamic banking. Under the conventional banking that we're all used to, the role of banks is intermediation. When you make a saving, the savers, your savings are transformed into credit. The banks lend to you, when you pay back with interest. Enable them meet the operation expenses, pay interest on the savings, and also get some profit, because it is out of these profits that they pay taxes. So you need to support them. Under Islamic banking, the arrangement is slightly different. When you place your money in a bank and they lend, actually the preference is not to give you cash. If your intention is to buy a car, they'll buy the car. They'll pay directly to the supplier of the car. And whatever profits you get out of this business is shared 50-50. Part of it goes to the bank, part of it goes to you as the proprietor. If you make losses, you also share the losses. It works well where there is good faith. But I know in some countries it has not worked well because of lack of that good faith. There's a tendency to always say we are making losses. There is no profit that is coming out of this business. The laws have been amended and Islamic banking is open to the public. And earlier this month, or late last month, the deputy governor launched Salam Bank, which is coming in as an Islamic bank. It doesn't have branches all over the country, but it is open to the public. It is in Kampala, and maybe it will extend to other parts of the country. But there are other banks that are also interested in offering Islamic banking, and they'll be coming to sell what they are offering. But us as a central bank, we shall also be moving around the country, creating awareness for those who are interested in Islamic products. But if you think you're not ready to keep records, to be honest in your transactions, please don't venture into that area, because they use Sharia, and Sharia can mean so many things. But beyond that, we need to be honest as individuals. We need to be very sincere in our dealings. Yesterday, Deputy Governor, when we raised the issue of keeping records, someone in the public said for him he keeps his records in his mind. He doesn't have to put them down. But for the benefit of third parties, even for the benefit of your own family, they need to look at your records. Because if you have a piece of land where you're staying and you know this is your ancestral land or marital home, and you don't have records for that piece of land, how will those who come after you benefit from that piece of land? Document everything you have so that those who come after you will also benefit out of that. The next question comes again about money lenders demanding that before they give you a loan, you give them a national ID as security. Again, I'll implore each one of you to deal with institutions that are licensed and regulated by Bank of Uganda, because you have a fallback position just in case there's a problem. But just in case these institutions have not been able to help you, which I think would not happen, because they have a lot of money and they want to lend it to you, but they have their own requirements. In case you find yourself in a situation where you can only use money lenders, make sure that money lender is licensed by the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority.
you want money from the bank, you've got to comply with what the bank wants you to do before you get what? Before you get money. One of the most sought after commodity that we all know is called what? Is called money. And if there's no discipline where there is money, there will be chaos. There will be what? Chaos. So record keeping is non-negotiable. We must keep records. And if we want to say that we want our sub-region to develop and increase the uptake of SCF, because the statistics have been shared, think about it this way, that while we want to keep our records in our head, people in other regions are keeping records as required of them. When the regulator comes to engage us in a town hall like this, they'll give the stats. So we've got to accept and say, let's get back and keep records so that Mr. Tile of Timo and Associates, I don't know where he's seated, if he needs your records to prepare for you audited books of accounts, it's easy. I've dealt with Mr. Tile for over 15 years because he's one of the solid audit firms in this region, and people as far as West Nile do audit, he prepares for them audited financials. Now imagine Mr. Tile is taking 3 months to get information to prepare audited books of accounts. That in itself will be a challenge. So we just need to be deliberate and keep our records. The good thing about record keeping is that it gives you financial discipline, you the business owner. At the end of the day, you're able to know that this is how much I've sold. These are the costs that I've incurred. This is my gross profit. This is the expenses that I've incurred. And this is my net for the day. If you can compute that this is my net for the day and this is my net for the month, you can walk in the branch in the bank and say, look, this is how much I make, this is how much I know I can take, and this is how much I am able to pay. And that kind of conversation we just need to be deliberate about. And as we do that, then we'll increase on the uptake of the agricultural credit finance. Not only that, but also the other bank products. And I'm here speaking on behalf of banks. I'm not going to try and be selfish, much as I work for Stanbic. There is also need for financial literacy. Financial literacy. The discipline of knowing how to keep money, when to borrow, when not to borrow, how to save. These are very important things. That is why sometimes somebody who earns 50 million is too broke at the end of the month, but another person who earns 5 million is very okay because they know how to manage their money. Financial literacy. Very, very important. We've seen people who have got money from the bank. After getting money from the bank, at the time you're putting in application to get money from the bank, you're saying that I want to boost my working capital. After getting money from the bank, you go and you build a hotel. Now, your source of repayment, the primary source of repayment for the loan that you are taking is this business that you presented to the bank. After getting 500 million or 1 billion shillings, you go and you build a hotel and keep quiet with your land title. Remember, you are now subjecting the business to paying extra money in terms of interest what? Expense. I don't know whether we are together, my dear friends. And as you do that, this business starts crippling. Because the 1 billion that you should have injected in the business to give you more turnover, give you more revenue, make for you more money, so that the business is able to pay the loan well, it is not the case because you've locked the money in a what? In a hotel. And a number of businesses have collapsed in this region like that. And that also means that even the SCF that we're talking about, if we don't have that discipline, that money that we're going to get, eventually we're going to divert it and will not pay. If we don't pay, it affects the fund. And the longevity or the sustainability of SCF program becomes a problem. I'm about to finish. Yes, I'm finishing. I also, people from the Greater North, I want to bring this to your attention. There are companies out there who are willing to take on additional risk. And this is something that I know most of us don't know. Because we only know that it is my land title that can allow me to get, and this is the business. There's a company called African Trade Investment and Development Insurance, ATIDI. It's in Kampala. They can assess your business and accept to take on a portion of risk if you want to borrow. I think they take on risk up to about 70%. What that means is that if you have collateral or security of 2 billion and they're giving you an additional 70% cover as a TD, it allows you to borrow more. Are we together? And these are companies which exist and they are there. Coming back to the last thing, and I can't sit down minus saying this, banking and borrowing is not about collateral. It is trust. Again, if you're a trusted person, sometimes even when you have collateral or security of 500 million, you can get a loan of 700 million from a bank. Because it is not that land of yours that you're bringing as security that will pay off the loan. It is the cash flows. It is the money you generate. So if the bank is able to trust and know that this person, even if they are short in terms of collateral, they will still pay, it is very important. Now, if you come to the bank, some information you're hiding in this pocket, the other one you're hiding here, the way some of us go and prepare 2 audited financials, one is for URA, one is for the bank, because URA, the taxes must be what? The profit must be what? Low, so that you pay less what? Tax. Then for the bank, the net profit must be what? High, so that you're able to, it becomes a problem. We must comply with the rules and we must be trusted. Lastly, on savings, and I think this is a question that was asked around interest rate, that I go for a saving account and I'm given another type of account. Please, that cannot be the case. The regulator, who is Bank of Uganda, through the Bank of Uganda Consumer Protection Guidelines, requires us banks to treat customers in a certain way, a professional manner, in a manner that does not demean the customer. There's respect, there's truth, and you're not saying this and you're doing the opposite. So if you're dealing with a bank and is doing that, please, you are free to raise your complaint with the regulator. At Stanbic, that should never happen, and it doesn't happen. If it is happening somewhere in some branch, please reach out to me or to our what we call the voice branch, which is, you can call anytime, 0800 150 150. It's toll-free line. But also, I want also to state that as we talk about interest rate, and I know the conversation of interest rates is also there. Deputy Governor, allow me to say this. I have seen us lend to SACCOs at a rate of 10%. 10. That is less than 1% per month. 0.8 something. But guess what? Even in spite of that 10%, you'll still find some people go to borrow money from loan sharks. So I really think that either it's an issue of financial literacy or access to information, but it is important that we should try and make sure that we reach out and get as much information as possible before we make decisions. Because once you tie yourself when you can't run away from that. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, they are waiting for us to start the mass or the funeral service. In the interest of time, I would like to pass these announcements. Number one, write all your questions if you still have them. Put your name and telephone number. We will get back to you. Number two, if there's a question that we have not answered today, please write it and put your details and leave it at Bank of Uganda Technical Center. We will reach to you. Number three, I am going to read telephone numbers that you can call. Even now, you will be attended to on your issues. The numbers are 0312 392 124. I repeat, 0312 392 124. There is another number I'm also going to read to you. 0417 302 191. I will repeat. 0417 302 191. When you call those two telephone numbers, give us your name, give us your telephone number, and state your question or your issue. We will get back to you. For those who have access to computer and email, I will also read the email address. The email address is F for flower, C for color, E for elephant, and M for Manchester. I'm going to repeat. I said F for flower, and C was for color, and E was for elephant, and M is for Manchester. So FSEM. Now I leave that to you to interpret. Because the next person might be an Arsenal fan and I'll have it rough. So it is FSEM at bou.or.ug. FSEM at bou.or, not org, or.ug. Now, we have a complaint or engagement handling desk that all these go to them. They will ably handle all your issues. Coming back as we wind up, on my right, the I table, we will have the chairman say a few words. We shall move to His Worship the Mayor. Then we will move to the Honorable Member of Parliament here present, and we shall have the RCC wind up. But before this, allow me give 1 minute to Chairman Kamas to say a word, then the Governor will respond to that, and we shall flow in that order. Thank you so much.
Deputy Governor, thank you very much. I was certainly trying to say that we as Lira, we are not very happy with the answer given to us about the center. Reasoning being, before, the former governor told us that they were going to construct Masaka Garrison Center, and then immediately Lira would be concerned. We were told here, everybody's here. And I remember even land was inspected. The chairman know, all these people know that land was inspected. What stopped the purchase was COVID-19. Now, if you tell us you are going to again review, it means you are taking us backward. And I really wanted this to be very clear. The way the answer was given to us means we are now going to be taken backward, we are going to be reviewed again, when actually we had come to the point of after Masaka was going to be Lira. And we were very excited today. The whole crowd was waiting, maybe today you are going to accept, oh, now that Masaka is finished, Lira is, but now we are disappointed, all of us. So really, I want you to really take this very seriously. We have to go back. Think about what the former governor told us, that after Lira, after Masaka, was going to be Lira. Land was inspected, the authorities here know. And COVID only is the one which stopped the purchase. So, but then the answer we got today is that we are going to be reviewed, our performance. It means now we even don't know our fate. I'm sorry, but we have to make it known, because even these colleagues of ours know that land was inspected here. And actually, district had given land, and the position was clear. So I'm sorry, but I had to do it. Thank you very much.
The Governor Bank of Uganda and our MP, Honorable Jonathan Udu, for Rote South. I recognize the presence of the presidential advisors, the RDC, my colleague, the mayor, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ. I'm happy to be here today, sir. And unfortunately, I did not come yesterday because we knew we were going to have our day today. And I also came late. I missed your deliberation, not because I wanted, but I had an emergency security issues in my district. So I had to handle it with the RDC and other people of the district. However, I'm here. I have only 2 or 3 comments to make. First of all, I want to welcome you so dearly to this region because we were really focused meeting you. Your team, your advanced team visited us and made us aware that your presence would be here and you would come yourself, no delegation. And that's why the members here, everybody is very attentive, waiting to hear what's going to come out of this meeting. I think it is true I've said it. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Can you welcome him? Honour Governor, there is a paradigm shift as I talk today. We used to have regions. The West Nile got their share. Actually, sub-region got their share because we used to be grouped under Northern Uganda. And everything was being taken to Gulu. But now, there's a very big paradigm shift. Lango is a region by itself. And Lira is a hub for commercial purposes in Northern Uganda. And I know very well that the volume of money coming here, I say I was not here, but I want to tell you that it is double or even triple what goes to Gulu. And therefore, it is always, I always see your bank bringing money from Gulu or from other regions here in Lira. And it would not be good for you to keep on doing that when we have available land for your center. So since there's a paradigm shift, I would like to add my voice to you that you consider fulfilling the promise which was made by your predecessor of giving us a center. And this is very important to us because we believe almost even the people of Acholi, people of this northern part, people of Karamoja, even part of Teso, come to Lira for business. Lira is a very powerful business center, which I want you to know, and you have noticed it as you do your work here in Lira. The second comment I want to put across is about loans. This one I want to give it to my people. It's very important that loans help us. Loans help us to develop and to do our businesses. But if we go for loans, we must be careful why we want loans. You must have a plan, a very good business plan. You must have a reason why you are going for a loan. I feel so sad, sir, to see a premises being labeled property of the bank. Did the bank build that property? I feel so sad and I feel disturbed as a leader. If you are not sure, you are not able to pay these bank loans, don't go for it. Don't go for it. It is my humble advice. Because some of these banks, especially microfinance, hide their interest. Somebody told me that they are offering 5% interest. But when I calculated it, it was 5% per month. Can you imagine? So when you calculate 5 times 12 is how much? 60%. And you run for, oh, it's only 5%, only 5%, give me. Ladies and gentlemen, don't. Be careful when you're going for loans. Loans are very good. There are government loans, there are commercial loans, and there are private loans. And therefore, you must be very careful in choosing the loans you want to get so that you don't get into trouble and lose your property. I know interest rates are calculated monthly, even yearly, but some of them hide it off and they trick you and you find yourself in problems. I therefore implore you to be very careful so that we don't lose the properties that we have, what you have worked for all this time. Thirdly, I want to say that you have heard from here and you have learned a lot from this meeting that we need more engagement. There is a lack of knowledge. There's lack of information. It is my first time to see Bank of Uganda coming out. This is my first engagement with Bank of Uganda. We always have some engagement with some banks. But today, since yesterday you came to Laos sub-region, I think you are going to see a change in our people. And I believe if we this engagement, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a change. People lack financial literacy. People lack knowledge on loans. People lack a lot. They just rush in without knowing much. I therefore request in your planning systems that you plan for more engagement with the community, not only in Lira, elsewhere in the region and also in the whole country. I would be very grateful for us to have more knowledge so that we are able to decide on a knowledgeable information when we are knowledgeable of what we are doing. Lastly, I want to recommit myself as a leader of Lira district because the city was created out of Lira district. We have land. I want to commit myself. The President Chairman of Commerce are here. They're very happy when I say I want to recommit myself that we have land. This land is available to support development in this region. As a chairman of the district, I already even informed your advance team that you sit down, come, we have various locations. You can choose the best location for you. If it's only location, we can give you the best location you have. We have this land, it's available. This land must be for development, and Bank of Uganda is our priority. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg to move. May God bless you.
Thank you. Let me now invite His Worship the Mayor to come and make his remarks. Thank you, Chairman.
The Deputy Governor Bank of Uganda and your entourage, our Member of Parliament for Erute South, the Resident City Commissioner, the Presidential Advisor, the Deputy, we're now used to city commissioners, but the district commissioner who is our meet. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen who are in the house, good afternoon. The DG and your team, if it were not for the day we are in, that we are under a lot of pressure to move for the next event, I would have allowed that this meeting extends as late as we can all sustain. Because when we discuss here, you realize how much that we all lack in terms of information. But also, I want the Bank of Uganda, to continue to be more transparent, as you promised, and to share critical information that helps to drive this economy. You see, on that occasion that the chair, the Director Chamber of Commerce is continuing to refer to, on that occasion, the then Governor Bank of Uganda mentioned a very important line. Ever since, that line has stuck in my mind, and I keep asking myself, why are we not honest as Ugandans? On that day, he revealed one truth about the cause of the high interest rates in our commercial banks. And this was his statement, that for us to drive down the interest rates in commercial banks, government should stop borrowing from within the economy. And government has never stopped borrowing from within the economy. The commercial banks find it so safe to lend to the government than lending it to us as individuals. And that is why we are secondary in their packages. Because they are sure. Stanbic, recently you sold to government of Uganda 2-point-something trillion. And you are covered for the next 10 years. You cannot run broke. So if I go to you that I have an idea of building a school, I want this, you look at me and then you ask, really? And about trust, if commercial banks were really true that they trust their clients, I think I would be one of the richest. Because I have a commercial bank that I've stayed with for the last 16 years. Very true and honest. Every loan I take, I pay back. They don't even award me a certificate that he has performed well. Or to say next time he comes, we're going to give him less by maybe 2%. Nothing. If he remains the same. And recently when I picked the clout of being a mayor, I thought now if I walk to any commercial bank, I'll be given money. Nothing. You are just an ordinary citizen. You are the same as any other person. So this honest discussion should continue. Should continue. I think this is not enough. It should continue. Statistics. Money given to us for PDM in the region, Lango as a region, is totaling to about 64 billion. How much do we need to start a bank? About 15 billion? It has not gone to 150. Okay, then now we're beaten. But a microfinance deposit taking institution, how much? 10 billion. So with our 64 billion, if Lao was being honest, we'll tell the government, don't throw the money in the community, give us 4 microfinance deposit taking institutions, and we set them in the different parts of Lao. These are serious discussions. It cannot just be wished off here. We need people of substance, people who understand what money is, and they talk exactly the language of money. But this idea of sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here, which we all do. When you're looking for loans, they just say, you know, sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. And you just sign. Then you walk out, then they tell you you've mortgaged the whole clan. That is not going to take us anywhere. So I think as a country, we need to do self-reflection, to be honest. If the whole country is not interested as Lao, we need to come together and be honest. And I want to introduce you in this meeting, the 2 of you that I can remember, that if we don't move in this direction, some of us know you. Mr. Idola, who is here, was previously a banker. When he sits in our meetings, he doesn't tell you he was a banker. So we don't lack human resource. This region produced a deputy DG. He's still here. He's still alive. So for me, I don't think we even need to wait for BOU to come here and we talk finance. He said he's been running with Stanbic for the last how many years? He's a son of the soil. And you are too many. Otimto Motile, who has been asking questions here, he's a former banker. So I think some honest reflection has to take place. I'm a politician, but I don't like making political statements. I want us to be real. So that is the only way we can move forward. Why are we not taking up ACF? This issue of records, all these things, this is not true. It is just the agricultural practice that we've inherited is not to the benefit of us. The other fellow in Western Uganda inherited coffee farm for his grandfather. In Buganda, he inherited a coffee farm for his... But for you, you only make sim-sim, 3 months, it's gone. If you want to go and trace record where you last farm sim-sim, you cannot see it. But these guys will take the bankers and they will see a coffee plantation from here up to there. The guy will even help him take here. These other records, it is not true. It's about sign here, sign here, sign here. Once they see it is there, you get the money. So for us, you're going to show a field, this used to be our garden. What did you farm there? Soya bean, how much did you take? You're not even sure how much you earned out of soya bean. But the fellas have Frisian cattle, they're showing, that cow can produce 30 liters of milk a day. The other coffee tree. All this for us, we don't have. So we have to change the narrative. We are one of the best suited individuals. Can you imagine, these people here, like including me, these are people who take money on loan and pay 26% per annum, and they repay. How do they fail to pay back 12%? It's not possible. It's not possible. Some of them even take loan from loan sharks at 10% per month, and they repay. So for me, our people are hardworking, but we are tied in a culture. We are tied in a history, which is not helping us move forward. And the worst one that now has come is the one where I cannot believe that I can do something with my brother, Okello Pio, even when we are councillors in council with my brother, the speaker, Okwir. We shall sit in council for 5 years, and then we go, if you ask, did you invest together? Nothing. Because we don't believe in working together. These are reflections for us. Nobody cares as we are made to believe. No, everybody is caring about their interests. These bankers here are given targets. Make for us this amount of money. That is it. The president will be smart, I hate loan sharks. No, the truth is each one for himself and God for all of us. So if we can turn around as a region and start reflecting, I think we shall move. So that is my appeal on this day. The day is not big enough for us to say everything. But I want to thank your team. And I want to assure you, it is not true that's the first time BOU is engaging with us. Your ACF team came under, let me recognize him. When he came to me and told he was bringing BOU to Lira, I even didn't believe him. Please stand up and mention your name. Geoffrey Obia brought the Bank of Uganda ACF team particularly to Lira City, and they engaged. So I think this engagement should continue. Let us not get tired, but I want honest reflections. For me, let government stop borrowing like the way the former Bank of Uganda governor told us. This interest rates will come down on its own. It will come down on its own. Actually, the last one example I can give testimony was for a manager who was working with Crane Bank Lira. When he came to Lira, he said, for him, he has no work to do. Because in India, you get one client to come to your bank to borrow. You work like hell. But here, for us, you go to the bank, you are the client, you are the one bringing them money, and you are treated as a beggar. And yet you are the one making the bank run. So for me, that is what I want to say on this day. Finally, I want to thank BOU for establishing a relationship with Lira City. We thank you for the offer of rehabilitating Ayago Health Center 3. As a community, we appreciate this. And as it has already been mentioned, the key thing you're going to go back with, think around the corner, that make this belief come true, that you build a currency center in Lira City. Even if you don't do all these other things for now, they want to hear that a currency center will be built where? In Lira. That is the message for now. If we can dodge all those other things, but let us pronounce ourselves on the issue of the currency center. I say all this for God and my country.
Thank you, Your Worship. May I take the honor now to invite our dear MP to come and make a statement.
Good afternoon to all of you. I would like to beg the indulgence of the Deputy Governor that I stand over the protocol that has been established in this forum. First of all, on behalf of the political leadership of this region who are representatives in Parliament, I would like to welcome the Deputy Governor and the team from Bank of Uganda in Lango sub-region. And I want to take a special moment to congratulate on your behalf, belatedly, our Deputy Governor on his appointment to that position. As Ugandans, I think there was a lot of high hopes given the profile of the Deputy Governor, and up to now I think we have not been disappointed. We are quite happy with your performance. I also had the benefit of studying the subject called economics at the university, and most of my lecturers at Makerere are now housed within Bank of Uganda. So therefore I have confidence that they are doing the right thing as they taught us at the university. Secondly, this meeting has been noted as being a very important one. I want to join the previous speakers in thanking the Bank of Uganda team. You could have chosen to send for us your juniors at some level, but you came here yourself, Mr. Deputy Governor. We don't take that for granted, and the directors that we have had here. It means that it's quite valuable in your thinking that the people of this sub-region deserves the best, and I thank you. Whatever motivation came into your mind to come, you have now listened that we want you to come more and more. That motivation should continue. I have enough space in Parliament, and when I come to such forum outside Parliament, I prefer to listen. So that for me, when I go back, I can handle other things when we are in Parliament. So I don't want to take your time, because I've been informed and I've picked issues that the next time we interact with you, that side, I can then bring them out to you. So allow me just highlight a few things which I think I may have to address here. The first is to advise Bank of Uganda through your regulations to use the commercial banks and its branches to give some of the information that you have provided here. For example, I see in each and every commercial bank, they put a notice that this bank is regulated by Bank of Uganda. They should now add, if you have any complaint, call Bank of Uganda on the numbers read by here. So you don't need to be giving numbers every time. That would be, among other things, that you can do. This information will flow to us. I am also encouraging the bank that when you see questions around inflation, it perhaps means that the facts on the ground may not be supportive of that. And we need to ensure, and I'm raising this as an ethical question that we have in the country, we need to ensure that the statistics and the data that we send out is well sieved. As a legislator, I know Bank of Uganda has been providing very accurate, but your colleagues who are actors in the same sector, you know you don't work alone. You also have economists at Ministry of Finance, and some of them are headed by politicians like me. The information they give do not reflect what I think Bank of Uganda gives out. There is need to harmonize that, because one time we had that before Parliament. The third and I'm going to conclude on it, I think, is that as a region, when you give us a commitment, we do not easily forget. And when I say when you give us, I am not mentioning persons, I'm mentioning the institution of Bank of Uganda. So this commitment that has been overly emphasized by the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, by His Worship, the Mayor, remains one deep one in our minds. I cannot speak to it more than enough, but I would like you to follow it up so that you can give us an informed. If it was a political commitment, you inform us, then we shall explain to our people. I say that was a political commitment. It is not coming. We shall tell them. I welcome, on behalf of the political leadership, the commitment to do a corporate social responsibility in Ayago. Mr. Deputy Governor, we would like next time you speak to us, now I'm speaking as a politician, to also tell us the CSR in other places, so that we can weigh on a political scale what the Bank of Uganda is rewarding the people of Lamu who are hardworking, and perhaps some other people whom we know may not be doing as much as possible in business. We need to weigh that, and we'll be happy if you do that for us. A few comments on the question raised about the Farmers Bank. I thought one of the directors answered it ably. In this document and in the Constitution, Bank of Uganda is listed as an autonomous institution, very independent. So whether government wants to establish a bank they call by whatever name, they must meet the standards set of establishing a bank. So this is now a political question. I don't think Bank of Uganda can answer it. But I can tell you in Parliament, they have been called, and the Ministry of Finance, in their budget speeches, if you have followed, have indicated that government is moving towards establishing something that may be similar to an agricultural bank or a farmer's bank. So the pressure is now to put on us and other politicians elsewhere for them to realize this dream and make it come through. However, I support the proposal by His Worship, the Mayor. In the alternative that we have provided as members of the opposition, we ask that the money allocated for PDM in the entire country, the Mayor had reduced it to this region, should actually go towards financing some bank of that nature. That is the alternative that we have provided to the country. And I think if you add, the report says it's now in excess of 1 trillion. That would mean that it would exceed the capital requirements, I don't know how many times. On the Anti-Homosexuality Act, the government, through the Ministry of Finance, provided us what they call a certificate of financial implications. It is upon that basis that, taking into consideration our culture, our aspirations, and what we want to be as Uganda, that the legislators made that law. When a law is made, we all ought to support it until otherwise reversed. So for now, we don't have any other option but to abide by it since the president signed into law. 2 examples for you to understand who a commercial bank is. First, the word commercial. The word commercial bank. Secondly, that the 2 most powerful people in this country, the president on record and the Speaker of Parliament, had financial problems, and they called one of the banks that they wanted to borrow and they were denied. It is on record. The president of this country called and wanted to borrow. So if you want to borrow from the bank, establish what they call a bank-customer relationship. So that when you go into the bank, they know you. They will not just say because you are an MP, you are the RCC, or this, they will lend to you. They will not. So for me, the day they denied the president and also the Speaker of Parliament, then the Right Honorable Kadaga, I said I will now tread carefully and try to see where to borrow. So I say this for God and my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable. a small break before we invite the RCC. Allow me invite the Deputy Governor to pass on a word of condolence. Deputy Governor, you're invited.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'm here to pass on our humble contribution to the bereaved family. But before I do that, I just want to say something. I thank you for the very candid discussions we've had here. This was the purpose of this town hall meeting, to hear from you. And we take on board what you've said. And for the issues that you've raised, there are processes that need to be followed, and we cannot commit ourselves before those processes are followed. So we will fast track the processes and try to see what happens. But processes have to be followed. So when we came here, we didn't have the outcome of those processes, so we cannot commit what has not been subject to a process. On that note, I would like to call upon the RCC, Mr. Golden Lawrence, to come and receive our humble contribution to the family of the bereaved late mayor. Just a humble contribution. Thank you very much. There will be a condolence message coming that will be delivered as well. But thank you very much. Yeah.
RCC Indo Doang kan? Jual doang.
The Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, you will also, in the interest of time, allow me to adopt the protocol that was outlined earlier. My name is Egole Lawrence. Once again, I want to start by thanking the Bank of Uganda through the Deputy Governor for the condolence message and what he has given to the family. You may not have been fully aware of what happened, but you are able to support the family. And on behalf of the team here, and on behalf of the family, I want to sincerely thank you and your team, and we shall deliver and convey the message at the burial. Dear participants, a lot was discussed here, and I don't want to dwell so much on a lot of issues that were raised, but I want to tackle one or two things. The Deputy Governor talked about some of the factors that could also be playing negative roles in our economic progress. And he mentioned things to do with the climate. You'll excuse me, I have a rough voice because of flu and cough that hit me a few days ago. So we are having that challenge, and we really need a committed spirit to see how we can mitigate some of the challenges that are affecting our environment. Because in our environment, we see wealth of the country. We see tourism in the country. We see individual development in the country. But as the president says every day, people have taken to destruction. And this destruction is already causing a very big problem and a very, very negative impact on our economy. Now, there are about 80%, there's about 80% of the young people in this country as we talk. I don't want to touch a lot on banking and the other aspects. They were already discussed. The 80% of the young people who are in Uganda, how productive are they? How productive is the population of Uganda? Because the role of the Bank of Uganda is not even much. First of all, is to regulate the currency system in the interest of the economic progress of the country. Their role is simple: regulate the interest of the economic progress. And where is the economy? Where is the economy? What is the role of an individual in building the economy of our country? Only about 10% of the population of the young people are productive. Only about 10%. And that is why His Worship was saying, at times the government has to borrow from these other commercial banks because production is low. Production is very low, and we still need a lot to do in terms of mindset change, especially to our young people, so that we can see progress in terms of individual development first, and then how we can add on the national economy. The building block of the strong economy lies basically on land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. And those will determine either the success or the disappointment in our economy, depending on how they are assembled and handled. So, as citizens of Uganda, we have a responsibility towards building our economy. And the bank will also have a role to play. Our commercial banks who are here, the regional manager was wondering why our people are going to these these money sharks, and at the end of the day, they suffer. Today, the whole governor is here with a team, but you ask yourselves, you commercial banks, how many times did you take yourselves to the people who are down there? You go to the people, and then the people will also come to the bank. The sign here, sign here, sign here, His Worship was talking about is because they go when they have no information completely about what takes place. So start going to the people. Start going to the people. Let them understand banking. Let them understand borrowing before they can get themselves in the bank. His Worship said over 60 billion is injected here in PDM. But not a single person, I want to believe, not even one single person has ever saved even 10,000. For all those ones who received, the banks may be here. I don't know if somebody has already banked 10,000 out of PDM. It is a one way. I have a neighbor. As soon as she got this money, 3 times I go there, I find them eating meat. 3 times so far. And she's not active. Now I'm wondering if this is PDM money or what. 3 times. So saving culture is so detrimental in the management of our economy. Unless we have a role, leaders, we are here, all of us are leaders. Don't say, I'm a businessman, I don't have a responsibility. Let's talk to our people. Those people feed your businesses, and your businesses grow because of those people. Help His Worship, help me, help the councillors to preach the word to the people, because even here, at times you people who buy produce, you run out of produce. You see, but it's not being taken advantage of, very fertile land, because the young people have chosen betting as the economic activity. Unless our younger generation wakes up, our economy will still be at stake. So finally, our commercial banks, like I said, move out to the people. You see those people, some of them are dying. Some of them borrow this money from these loan sharks, and they end up dying. They end up dying, they hide, they fall sick, and they die. When those loan sharks, you know, they behave like a crocodile at the river bank. When it comes out, it opens its mouth and pretends that it is feeding the flies around. So when flies come into the mouth, pretending so humble, and the fly is feeding there, when they are now fall, before the flies know it, they are all gone. So that is how these loan sharks behave. So make sure that our people do not dance in the face of tragedy. Let them go to the right place after getting right information. Your banks will grow, Bank of Uganda will grow, and our economy will boost. I want to thank you once again, Deputy Governor, for this initiative. I think even me, I'm interfacing with you for the very first time. A lot of people here, let us not pretend we all see him on television. Most of us, we just see the Bank of Uganda on TV or somewhere. But I think it is a big humility for you to come and then interface with us. I think he deserves a very good hand clap, and the team. This is how we build and mend and cement relationship. It is information. Now that you've given us, I think it is also our responsibility to cascade it where it is supposed to go. Thank you once again, and I also thank your advanced team that has been with us here for about a month, since last month. They were so good, they were so friendly. You know, almost every village is within Lira city here. So they did a great job. They interacted with so many people, and I'd like to thank you very much. I wish you a very successful journey as you go back. And now that the Bank of Uganda is entirely in Lira City, I know the economy of Lira City. Your worship, you should be smiling. I think something good will now happen. Thank you very much. I wish, therefore, to officially pronounce this meeting closed. Thank you very much.
Where I take Adwong RCC. Administrative announcements. Ka wanotiero Lego Hamani, pia unumalo te Lego, otawero anthem, otawot nongo piamara, ping, ot ping ya wanochuni beru ne wiene, ping kano wanurchamuni ye, eka ote warune programo kene. So there is lunch served in the room down. When we finish with the meeting, we will go down. There are a few of the Bank of Uganda staff who are distributing coupons that you'll get to go down. Then there is going to be a photo moment. Unfortunately, we cannot all be in one photo, so we shall have the front tables will be laid down by Madame Nakasi to go and take the photograph from down there, the tables that has white cloths. So without so much delay, DJ, you will load the anthem in the reverse order. We are starting with the Lao anthem, then we go to the East African and then the national anthem. Yeah. Akwaye ni luong dana metelewa Lego. Metele Lego.
Praise the Lord. I'm believing together with you that God answered our prayer. It's a God that hates ignorance and laziness. So at least our level of laziness has been handled in this meeting, and we deserve to thank God for that. And let us pray. Loving Father, we thank you for being a faithful God. We recognize that you are doing everything possible to make sure that humanity is doing your will. You want us to love ourselves and love our neighbors and love our environment. And we live responsibly. We want to thank you for the opportunity you have given us to reduce on our level of ignorance. We want to thank you for Bank of Uganda and the team that have been here to help us. We also want to thank you for people among us that have the knowledge that can help your people live better. We want to thank you that you have given us life at a point like this, that we may cause change that you desire for a time such as this. We want to thank you that you have been our ever-present help in times of need, and we want to say thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
National anthems, DJ.